Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The candle was still burning when I walked into the bedroom. Vanilla and cedar, the same one she used to light when we celebrated things. But tonight, there was no celebration. Just her side of the closet, half empty, and a folded sheet of paper on my pillow like some final exam I never studied for. I didn't need to open it. I already knew what it said. The silence in the house wasn't peaceful. It was smug. An hour earlier, she stood in front of me in that oatmeal sweater she wears when she wants to look casual but calculated. She had her arms crossed, her voice cool, like she'd rehearsed this. It's not my job to fulfill your needs. Deal with it. No warning, no context. Just that, like I was being fired from my own marriage. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just tilted my head, swallowed something bitter, and replied, "Then it's not my job to pay for your wants." She raised an eyebrow, half surprised, half impressed. And without saying another word, she walked upstairs, zipped two bags shut, and left the front door wide open behind her. That was the last time she used her key. I didn't follow. I just sat on the couch, hands numb, heart doing that weird thing where it feels too loud but too slow at the same time. There was a wine glass in the sink, lipstick on the rim. Not her shade, not her glass. That's when my stomach dropped. I opened the junk drawer, pulled out the old iPad she used for Pinterest recipes, and plugged it in. It still had her Apple ID logged in. The messages loaded faster than I expected. And what I read next, the photos, the dates, the language, made my knees go weak. Her workshop in Asheville was a weekend at a rental cabin. Her mentor was a 32-year-old rock climbing instructor named Ty. And her version of emotional healing looked an awful lot like full-blown cheating. But what really got me? She used my credit card for the trip, and this is just the beginning. What happened when I responded, not with rage, but with paperwork, passwords, and one brutal truth delivered over dinner, flipped everything she thought she had planned upside down. The next morning felt off before I even opened my eyes. There was no clinking of coffee mugs, no distant hum of her podcast playing while she journaled, just stillness. Like the house itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what I'd do next. I didn't. I stayed in bed longer than usual, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me like it had all the answers. Eventually, I dragged myself into the kitchen. Her mug was still there, half full, sitting on the counter like it hadn't moved in hours. Then I saw it. A note stuck to the fridge, written in her handwriting, but with a tone that didn't sound like her at all. "Groceries are your turn. Don't forget oat milk. That toothpaste I like, and bananas. Firm, not mushy. L. That L at the end. She hadn't signed anything like that since we were dating, and somehow that tiny detail shattered me more than last night's blowout. I stood there holding the note like it was a verdict. That's when I remembered the iPad. I hadn't finished going through everything. My hands were trembling a little as I picked it back up. I wasn't sure what I was hoping for. Maybe I thought I'd misunderstood something, that it wasn't betrayal, but some stupid emotional affair she didn't know how to end. But no. One of the messages was from just 3 days ago. From him. Ty. He sent her a picture of the same bananas. Yes, bananas. With the caption, "Firm enough for you yet?" And she replied, "Perfect. You know me too well." My knees nearly gave out. That stupid smug fruit just confirmed everything. She wasn't even trying to hide it. She was using shared routines, our inside jokes, our grocery system, as props in whatever play she was putting on for this guy. I scrolled further. There was a list of dates to avoid. Weekends I'd be out at training conferences, dentist appointments she pretended to schedule but never did. All carefully coordinated to build a second life without me noticing. But I did notice. And now every moment in our house started to feel like a setup. The way she always insisted on handling the online banking, the push for separate bedrooms for better sleep, even her sudden obsession with budgeting apps. All of it was just scaffolding for an exit plan she assumed I was too blind or too soft to see coming. But she underestimated one thing. A man who's been taken for granted long enough doesn't explode. he erodes. And when there's nothing left to lose, even the quietest man finds his voice. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Not until I understood every angle. So I called in sick to work, locked the front door, and started printing bank statements, hotel invoices, screenshots of messages. I even pulled footage from our smart doorbell. The time she said she was at yoga, but a rideshare dropped her off in a red dress, heels in hand. Clearly not from a gym. I wasn't planning revenge. I was preparing clarity. Because the next time she told me it wasn't her job to fulfill my needs, I was going to show her what happens when I stop covering hers. I wasn't proud of what I did next, but pride wasn't something I had the luxury to carry anymore. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one we picked out together at that flea market in Asheville, and opened her old MacBook. It was still there on the bookshelf, right where she left it 6 months ago when she upgraded to something sleeker and lighter. She probably assumed I wouldn't know the password, but she forgot one thing. When you spend years setting up someone's devices, you remember patterns. Hers had always been some variation of our anniversary. It opened on the first try. My hands were sweaty, heart pounding harder than it should have been, considering I already had proof from her iPad. But something about digging into this computer felt different. More final. I knew once I looked, I couldn't unsee. And God, I was right. Her email was logged in. That part was easy. What wasn't easy was the folder titled Coaching Docs. I assumed it would be boring spreadsheets or client notes. Nope. It was worse. It was her plans, literal plans, for her new life. There were spreadsheets titled Post-Separation Budget, Solo Apartment Hunt, and one with a checklist that started with Find Affordable Attorney and ended with Keep Dorian Calm until Move Out. She had been planning this for months. Quietly. Strategically. While eating dinner across from me, asking about my day, pretending to laugh at my stupid office stories. She wasn't just done with the relationship. She was managing my emotions like a liability. I was something to handle, a variable to neutralize. And maybe the most humiliating part? I had made it easy. I'd been so desperate to keep peace, to avoid drama, that I didn't see I was the only one still playing by marriage rules. I closed the laptop and just sat there for a long time. The hum of the refrigerator sounded like a warning siren. I think I stopped breathing for a moment. Not out of panic, but out of clarity. This wasn't some fluke. It wasn't a midlife spiral. It was a campaign. And yet, she still had the nerve to text me that afternoon. Hey, did you get a chance to book my dentist appointment like we talked about? Like nothing had happened. Like I was still her assistant, not the man she was trying to replace. I stared at the message and felt something cold wash over me. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was done reacting. She wanted calm. She'd get calm. Just not the kind she expected. So I responded just as casually. Sure. Appointment booked. Also took care of something else for you. You'll see. I didn't send a follow-up. I wanted her imagination to do the work. Then I spent the rest of the night doing what she least expected. I started reclaiming my space. I moved her favorite cookbooks into a box. Tossed the throw pillows she bought that I always hated. Changed every password I had access to. Removed her as a backup contact on all my financial accounts. It wasn't revenge. It was restoration. And just when I thought I was done, something else popped up. An unfamiliar name on our shared streaming account. A user profile titled TyPix ReadArt. She didn't even bother hiding it. That was the final thread. So I changed the profile name to Enjoy While It Lasts, logged her out of every device, and scheduled one last purchase on her behalf. A single print of the photo we took on our anniversary trip to Charleston, the one where I was smiling at her like she was the whole world. I had it delivered to Ty's address. Thursday night, 7:40 p.m. She walked through the door in a tight navy dress I hadn't seen before. Probably one of those self-investment purchases she justified as part of her image coaching business. Her hair was curled, makeup perfect, heels loud against the hardwood. I was sitting on the couch pretending to scroll my phone. but I was watching her in the reflection of the TV screen. She didn't say hi, just asked, "Did you confirm the reservation at Morelli's?" I didn't look up. "Reservation?" She blinked, confused. 48. I asked you to call. They don't take online bookings. I let the silence linger. Oh no, I didn't. That's when she turned, annoyance flashing in her eyes. "Dorian, I told you it was important. I needed that table." I shrugged. "You said it wasn't your job to meet my needs." "I figured it wasn't mine to meet yours." The room fell quiet. She stood there for a beat too long, probably wondering if I was quoting her back or if I genuinely didn't care. She pulled her phone out and started frantically dialing, pacing in circles, whispering something about a wait list. Her voice sounded urgent, embarrassed. I realized then that this dinner wasn't just some fancy meal. She wasn't going alone. She gave up after a few minutes, then slammed the phone down. "Thanks for nothing," she muttered, heading toward the stairs. I waited exactly 30 seconds before standing up and walking to the kitchen. On the table was the envelope I'd been preparing for days, labeled in Sharpie. "Since I'm not your job." Inside were copies of her texts with Ty, hotel receipts, photos of her logging into his apartment building, and a spreadsheet of all my account changes. But the cherry on top, a printed list of every item she'd charged to my card over the past 3 months, with red highlights for anything that had nothing to do with our shared life. Jewelry, train tickets, lingerie. I placed it on her pillow. 10 minutes later, she came down the stairs slowly, barefoot, her eyes a little wide, like maybe she already sensed something was off. I was standing by the front door with my keys in hand. She looked at me, puzzled. "Where are you going?" I smiled, but not the warm kind. "Just remembered I made a reservation after all. Just one seat. Don't wait up." As I walked out, I heard her voice, small and uncertain for the first time in months. "Dorian, what's going on?" I didn't answer. I closed the door behind me gently, like you would when leaving a hotel room you know you'll never return to. I didn't have a dinner reservation. I drove to the lake, sat in my car, and just let the quiet hold me. Not to cry, not to scream, just to exist, alone. Free. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like someone's background character. I felt like I had a spine. When I got back home, the envelope was gone from the pillow, but she hadn't touched anything else. She was in the kitchen staring at the fridge, her arms wrapped around herself like she was cold. She didn't say a word, and I didn't either. But the next day, she started playing nice. Making coffee, asking how I slept, smiling like none of this happened. Which only meant one thing. She was afraid. She made eggs the next morning. I hadn't seen her cook breakfast in over a year. The last time she touched the skillet, she was complaining that kitchen work kills creativity. But there she was, standing barefoot, flipping overdone eggs, humming like we were starring in some delusional sitcom. I sat at the table quietly, watching her act like the last 2 nights hadn't shattered everything between us. The air was thick with the smell of desperation disguised as effort. She slid the plate in front of me with a forced smile. "Over medium, just like you like." I stared at the food, then up at her. "You haven't asked how my job's going in months. Why the sudden concern over eggs?" Her smile faltered just slightly. "Can I do something nice?" I didn't answer. She sat across from me, sipping orange juice and watching me like she was studying an animal in a cage, trying to gauge if it was going to bite. She knew something had shifted. And the worst part for her, she couldn't predict what I'd do next. She was always the unpredictable one. Now the roles were reversed. That evening, I came home to find a candlelit dinner waiting. Steak, roasted potatoes. Her, wearing the dress I once said, made her look like summer in human form. And music playing, that same jazz record we used to slow dance to on bad days. "Thought we could reconnect," she said, touching the rim of her wine glass. I sat. I even took a bite. And when she leaned forward and said, "Let's just talk, okay? No tension, No games. I finally looked her in the eye and asked, "Is Ty going to be okay with this little reunion?" That's when the crack appeared. Her fork paused midair. "What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath and leaned back. "You really think I don't know? You used my card for your little mountain getaways. You sent selfies from his apartment while telling me you were leading a virtual workshop. You left a trail like you wanted me to find it." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Panic flickered behind her eyes, but she didn't confess. She lied. Of course she did. "You're being paranoid, Dorian. Ty is just a business contact. We've worked together on client packages, that's all." I nodded slowly. "Right. So, you sign firm bananas in your client contracts?" That shut her up. Her jaw clenched, and I watched the blood drain from her cheeks. She knew the game was up, but she was still scrambling for an angle. Manipulators don't fall apart immediately. They pivot. "You've been spying on me," she snapped. "That's insane, Dorian. Invasive. That's emotional abuse." I actually laughed. "I checked the statements from my card and used the iPad you never wiped. I guess in your rush to build a life with him, you forgot you left the front door unlocked." She stood abruptly, nearly knocking over her wine glass. "This is low, even for you. You don't trust me?" "No," I said simply. "But more importantly, I no longer finance you." I pushed back my chair and left the room. Her voice followed me down the hallway. It wasn't angry anymore. It was shaky. "Wait, Dorian, can we just talk this out?" I didn't stop. I locked the guest room door behind me and felt something I hadn't felt in months. Relief. Not power, not revenge, just the quiet kind of peace that comes when you finally stop letting someone feed you lies and call it compromise. The next morning, she was still there, sitting on the couch, her eyes puffy. She didn't go out. She didn't text anyone. She just waited. And now she was the one walking on eggshells. 3 days of silence. That's how long she tried to keep up the act. No more accusations, no more gaslighting, just quiet dinners, shallow smiles, and a few awkward attempts to brush against me in the hallway. I didn't take the bait. She was stalling. I could feel it, waiting for something or someone to tell her what to do next. I figured she was texting Ty like mad behind locked bathroom doors. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't trying to catch her. I was 2 steps ahead now. That's when I found it. I was reviewing some old paperwork that Saturday morning. Not because I was suspicious, but because I was planning my next move. If we were heading for separation, I needed to know where everything stood financially. But buried in a folder labeled Miscellaneous on our cloud drive was a PDF of a bank statement, not from any account I recognized. The name at the top was hers, but the address, not ours. My stomach twisted. I opened it. It wasn't empty. In fact, it held over $14,000. Deposits dating back nearly a year. Some as small as $50, others in the hundreds. I cross-checked the amounts with our joint account withdrawals, and there it was. Week after week, she'd been siphoning money under vague transaction labels, wellness, supplements, work expense. A few even listed my name as a reimbursement. She was quietly building a runway to leave me with my own money. But the kicker, a recent deposit labeled T. Just the letter. I didn't need 3 guesses. I stared at the screen in disbelief. She was preparing to ghost me financially. I wasn't just being emotionally replaced. I was being erased from her future entirely. I printed every page and laid them out across the dining table like evidence in a trial. When she came downstairs, rubbing sleep from her eyes and holding her coffee like it was a shield, she froze the moment she saw it all. "What's this?" she asked, voice already defensive. "You tell me," I replied, not looking up. Funny how someone who claims to be broke has enough tucked away for a solo apartment and a few private getaways. She laughed, sharp and fake. "Are you seriously stalking my finances now? That's obsessive, Dorian." I stood up, walked toward her slowly, and handed her the final page. The one with the deposit from T. Her hand hesitated, her eyes darting between the paper and my face. That's when she knew I wasn't bluffing anymore. "Is this where you were going to run?" I asked. "Is this the part where you disappear and leave me holding the bill for the life you abandon?" She opened her mouth to respond, but didn't. For once, she had nothing ready. No clever deflection, no scripted outrage, just a long, shaky breath and a nervous shift of her feet. Then she tried the last trick in her book. Tears. "Dorian, I didn't know how to tell you. I felt so trapped. You were just distant. I thought maybe if I had something of my own, I could feel safe again." I didn't flinch. "So your solution was to betray me, lie about everything, and hoard cash while using my card to fund spa weekends with your affair partner?" Her lip quivered. She sat down, defeated. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "But it did," I said coldly, "and I'm not the fool you thought I'd be." I walked away, leaving her alone at the table, surrounded by evidence of her quiet exit plan. That night, I moved half the money from our remaining joint account into a new one under my name. Legal? Probably. Fair? Absolutely. She wanted independence. Now she'd get to experience it in full. It was supposed to be a normal morning. I made coffee, sat by the window with my laptop, and tried to focus on anything but her presence in the house. She was upstairs moving slowly, probably unsure if she should act like things were normal or keep her distance. We'd spoken only in clipped phrases since the financial reveal. No yelling, no tears, just cold, awkward neutrality, like two coworkers who secretly hated each other but still shared a cubicle. I told myself I was done looking. I had enough evidence, enough betrayal to walk away with my head up. But curiosity is a stubborn thing, and when you've been lied to for so long, it's hard to trust that you've really seen everything. So I opened her email. She always left it logged in on the desktop, probably assuming I'd never bother. The inbox was clean. Too clean. A few promotional emails, one from her mom, and a newsletter from a meditation app. Nothing about Ty, nothing incriminating. But then I checked her drafts. There was only one. No subject line, no recipient. Just an open draft with a wall of text and a blinking cursor at the end. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I was expecting another lie or half-truth. What I read instead made my stomach twist in a new, more unsettling way. It started casually enough. "Ty, I know you're getting impatient. I'm trying, but it's not that simple. He's noticing things." She met me. He's not as clueless as I thought. He found the account and some of the texts. I had to lie through my teeth to calm him down. I'm exhausted. He watches everything now, like he's waiting to catch me slipping. Then it turned sharper, meaner. Honestly, I don't even like sleeping in the same house as him. He mopes around like a ghost. I can't even stand the way he breathes when he eats. It's like living with a beige wall that sulks. My chest tightened. I didn't think I could feel more humiliated. But reading those words written in private, not meant for manipulation or performance, was worse than any fight we'd had. This was raw, unfiltered. She hated me, not just the marriage, me. I'm working on getting access to his Roth. He never changed the old login. If I can pull a little from it before he locks me out, we'll have enough to cover the move. Just hang in. 2 more weeks max. That was the final line. I froze. I couldn't even breathe for a moment. Not only was she plotting a physical exit, she was trying to drain my retirement. The money I'd been quietly building over the years, never touching, never even mentioning because it felt like the only thing that was really mine. She wanted to steal my future too. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply selected the entire draft, copied it, and emailed it to myself. Then I closed the laptop and sat perfectly still for a while. Everything she'd hidden had finally been exposed, and none of it had come from her own mouth. Downstairs, I could hear her moving around again, humming tunelessly like she always did when she was nervous and trying to seem unbothered. She had no idea I'd seen it. No idea I knew her exact timeline. No idea I was already preparing for the end. She thought she controlled the story. So I went to my office, opened my own laptop, and made 2 calls. First to my bank, freezing the Roth immediately, then to an attorney I'd met once at a work seminar. I wasn't filing yet, not until I had every piece where it needed to be. But the game was over, and I was going to end it with precision. I waited 1 more week, not out of fear, not even strategy, just to be absolutely sure every detail was locked in. I wanted the end to be clean. No yelling, no begging, no way for her to spin it back on me. She still had no idea I'd seen the draft. She still thought she was 3 steps ahead. So I let her play the part. The eggs in the morning, the soft touches in the hallway, the small talk about summer plans she'd never intended to include me in. But I wasn't playing anymore. That Saturday, I invited a few close friends over for dinner. The same ones she'd slowly distanced me from over the years. She acted surprised but put on her best performance, floating around with wine and charm, making everyone laugh, asking about their kids and their jobs. The perfect wife. I almost admired the skill of it. Almost. Halfway through dessert, I stood up and said, "I have something to share." The room went quiet. She froze mid-laugh. I pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to her. She looked confused, then opened it. Inside was everything. The financial transfers, the messages, the screenshots, the draft email she never sent. Her face drained of color in real time. Then came the part she truly hadn't expected. A notarized letter stating the joint account had been dissolved, my Roth protected, and an official notice from the lawyer she was about to hear from on Monday. The room stayed silent. My friends didn't speak. No one needed to. The air said enough. Her lips parted. She looked at me like she was searching for the script. Something to recover the moment. I spoke first. Calm. Final. I'm not staying with someone who uses me like a safety net while planning a future with someone else. You said it's not your job to fulfill my needs. That's fair. But now it's not my job to fund your escape. I turned to our guests and smiled genuinely. Thanks for coming, everyone. I just wanted people who knew me before this mess to see how it ends. And then I left her there. Not yelling, not crying, just still. No words left to weaponize. It's been 3 months now. I moved into a small apartment overlooking the park. I go on long walks. I sleep better. I cook my own eggs. Badly, but proudly. I even signed up for a painting class I always told myself I didn't have time for. It's not some grand revenge, just peace. Honest, boring, beautiful peace. And guess what? She called 2 weeks ago. Said she missed my steadiness. Said she'd made mistakes. Said Ty was too intense. I told her I hoped she found what she was looking for. And then I blocked her number. Because healing doesn't come from getting even. It comes from walking away when the door finally swings open. Thanks for watching the final part of this journey on the Reddit Confessions channel. Have you ever been betrayed and found a way to end it on your own terms? What part of this story shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. Your story might help someone else find their voice.